Yo, what up guys? So it looks like we got some pretty interesting updates coming to the game that's going to completely change what looks like everything. So first things first, update 2.12. Looks like they added a lot of new stuff and balancing changes and adding new equipment like the earrings that might make a big difference. So let's watch Tico Talks. I haven't watched this yet, but let's see what this is about.
What's up, gamers? Welcome back to Tico Talks Throne and Liberty. My name's Tico, and I'm the Globalization Design Manager at Amazon Games for Throne and Liberty. Let's jump into today's topics. The current 2-2-2 PvP meta has become stagnant due to overly defensive gameplay. While defense is necessary, we recognize that an excessively defensive meta isn't fun for most players. We're implementing several carefully considered changes to help shake up the PvP meta without invalidating your existing builds. On May 29th, we're introducing back and side attacks that will provide new ways to increase your damage and effectiveness against evasion and endurance stacking. The same update will add earrings as a new gear slot, which will also naturally help shift the meta.
So the addition of earrings is going to give us more stats, which is really nice, but it's going to add a new element of side attacks and back attacks, which is kind of weird. Like it's an actual stat. Like if I flip over to quest log here, you can see that when you add an earring, the only traits that you can get on the earring, outside of the fact that it has really good stats, right, like 4 dex, 6 perception, and there's other ones as well, but it has, back hit chance. So it has basically hit chance, heavy attack chance, and critical attack or critical hit chance, and they're all back and side. Now back makes sense, right, because back seems like it'd be pretty easy to hit. Side, I mean, it sounds like it'd be easy to hit. I just don't know how they'll register it, if there's any desync or anything like that, but it could be good. But just in general, there's going to be a lot more stats that you're going to be able to get. As you can see, like, look at this. Just from getting 2 of the crit ones, you can get both back and side. Obviously, you're not going to be hitting both of them at the same time. But like if you're hitting the back, you're getting an extra 160 crit chance. Yeah, 160 crit chance, which is kind of crazy. Same thing as goes for the hit chance. This is going to be kind of really important. 160 hit chance just from hitting somebody in the back, and then the side one as well. So earrings can be very, very good addition to the game, especially with like evasion and endurance meta. So that's a cool addition. However, like I said, hitting from the side and the back can be a little weird. I mean, it could definitely work because a lot of games have it, but it's going to be a little weird.
Additionally, the May 29th patch will include targeted adjustments to several skills. Amongst them, we will apply nerfs to healing output in multiple skills and introduce a new debuff that affects blood devotion. Once a player is affected by blood devotion, they will be unable to receive those effects until the debuff timer ends. Looking further ahead, our upcoming raid in late June will introduce our powerful new gear options. Our goal is to combine the immediate May 29th changes with the increased firepower from raid gear to create a more dynamic and engaging PvP experience in both the near and long term. We've been closely monitoring your feedback on our endgame PvE and PvP experiences. I want to acknowledge the concerns many of you have shared about Dimensional Trials and Nebula Island. Both of these features are currently under comprehensive review by our team. We recognize that Dimensional Trials hasn't fully delivered on its promise of satisfying evergreen PvE content, and Nebula Island's mixed PvP-PvE structure hasn't quite hit the mark for our dedicated PvP players. We're working on meaningful improvements to both systems, exploring various options to enhance these experiences and make them more rewarding and engaging. We'll share specific details about these changes once our plans are finalized in the future. Speaking of PvP, the Interserver Castle Siege arrives with our May 29th update.
I'm going to stop it here. I will link the video down in the description if you want to watch it yourself. But he kind of goes over the notes, I guess, in video format. But I've already looked over this a little bit. So basically, they're going to be bringing new 4-star co-op dungeons. And this is going to be the place where you're going to be able to get that new earring and whatnot. There's also, I noticed that they're also adding in like the noble birthright brooch and everything. So they're adding in a lot of items that you're going to be able to get. Like they'll be pretty accessible compared to where they were now, like where they were like really not accessible at all. So yeah, like I said, those earrings are going to be a new slot, a completely new slot, and you'll be able to get them from these tier 4s, I think, and as well as Nebula. So these two things are interesting, right? Like the earrings going to be good. The positional attacks can be finicky, but it sounds like it's definitely looking like it's aiming to try to help a little bit in PvP. One of the interesting things that's going to be happening too, if this is not something that they're lying to us, but the first Interserver Siege is going to take place on June 15th. So I'm curious if they'll stay true to this date. I don't know how that's going to end up because, I mean, everybody knows that in Siege now it's kind of a lag fest and desync fest and people crashing and whatnot. I don't know how they're going to do an Interserver Siege. So, I mean, I'll keep my hopes up, but it could be really cool. It looks like whenever the castle owners, they fight against each other, whoever wins, that server gets a 48-hour server-wide buff to their home server, and it grants everybody abyssal point efficiency and combat damage bonus, which is interesting. So basically you're earning buffs for the rest of your server, so that's kind of cool, and you earn a little bit of money as well from the tax and whatnot. So Interserver Siege sounds really fun. I'm just very, very curious if they can match or if they can hit this date, June 15th. Another big thing for combat is stats. They're adding new bonus effects basically for reaching stat values of 80 or more, which is, I mean, on top of using these earrings, these new earrings, you're going to get a lot of stats. As you can see here, you know, dex and perception. You got some down here that give wisdom and strength, and then further down, fortitude and strength. So they give a lot of stats. So I have the Korean notes here where they go a little bit more in depth with what everything's going to have. Some of the skills obviously don't make a lot of sense. They're not translated correctly. But you can basically see here, like Indomitable is going to be your fortitude, and up here Determination is going to be your strength. So if you just go like that, it's like strength, dex, wisdom, perception, and fortitude. So you can see here, you know, 80 strength, you're going to be able to get 450 hit. Slam hit, I'm assuming, is going to be a heavy attack, so 60 heavy attack. Another big one's going to be 80 dexterity is going to give us now 60 critical strike and 9 extra damage. I'm curious if this extra damage is just like added to your max damage or if this is like bonus damage. So it's kind of hard to tell. I mean, we'll only be able to know whenever the server comes live with the patch and whatnot. But they've also added other things as well. You know, 80 perception gives you 60 more hit and now 3% buff duration. So they added a lot of cool things for hitting the new stat breakpoints because, like I said, those earrings should be pushing you over the threshold of getting somewhat close to 80 stats. This is something that's interesting as well. Items, you can now receive buff effects from both attack and defensive food at the same time. If you remember correctly, you had to choose if you wanted attack or you wanted a defensive food. Now it looks like you're just going to be able to pop both of them. So that's interesting as well. That's going to definitely add more stats in evasion or tankiness to what you're on top of your attack food. The big nerf for Dagger was Camouflage Cloak got reduced by 3 seconds, so our stealth is 3 seconds shorter. Not the end of the world. It kind of sucks to have a shorter stealth, but I mean, it's not really the end of the world. It's just, I mean, I guess they just wanted to reduce it a little bit. So that's going to drop it from, I think, like 10 seconds or so. I think it's where it's at, down to 7. So still a long time that you can sit in stealth. It really just, I don't really feel like it's a big nerf. You'll probably notice it a little bit, but not too much. One of the biggest changes in the game for this patch is going to be for Blood Devotion. As you heard earlier, everybody is playing 222, which makes everybody extremely tanky, and it's because of this skill right here, Blood Devotion. Blood Devotion basically takes, like, the tank that pops Blood Devotion takes a majority of the damage from anybody in his party that was close to him for a certain amount of time. So as you can imagine, a tank that is very hard to kill, popping Blood Devotion and giving it to his party, basically makes the party unable to be killed, unless you just get like completely nuked. So this is a very strong ability, and honestly, this is what made the PvP meta super boring because, I mean, just no one died in competitive matches. But now, Blood Devotion, after being affected by it, so after you use it one time, players will now be able to, or unable to receive the effects of Blood Devotion again for 45 seconds. That is huge. I know on some translations they said it as long as it's the same caster, he can do it again. I don't know exactly how it's going to work. We're going to have to see how it works whenever we get the patch tomorrow. But 45 seconds of a window that you have between Blood Devotions is going to be huge. That means that people are going to be, for 40, like at the very beginning, you pop Blood Devotion, people are going to live for a certain amount of time, and then after that, they have a 45-second gap where people are going to take a lot more damage. So you're going to see a lot more people dying, a lot more squishiness in the overall meta. Honestly, I think with this nerf, you're going to see a lot of people switch over to probably SNS Sword and Shield, because one of the biggest things that they just completely overlooked, and I don't see it anywhere, is the Bulwark. Bulwark is basically a non-arc boss item, which it should be an arc boss item, and it basically allows their chain hook. Instead of grabbing one person, it grabs an additional three. So up to 4 people get pulled with this. Basically, anytime if you have Bulwark, if a tank chain hooks into a group and grabs like a DPS, for example, he's going to grab 3 more people around that DPS and pull. A total of 4 people pulled. And as you can imagine, if you've been in any of the competitive fights, it's just non-stop being ragdolled back and forth, being tossed off cliffs. This SNS is insanely strong, and in my opinion, just needs to get deleted from the game. If it's not going to get deleted, it just needs to be, leave it at 1 chain hook. Like 1 person being able to be hooked is completely fine, but 4 total is insane. So that is something they never touched in the patch notes. I'm hoping they eventually change that, but they're in the right direction, because they definitely got rid of, or they've nerfed Blood Devotion, and I'm assuming people might find some loopholes around this in the very beginning. I don't know. Like I said, we won't really know exactly how this feels until the patch tomorrow, but this is a step in the right direction. 45-second gap means a lot more people are going to die, and it is not going to be a tanky, no one ever dies meta anymore. So very, very cool to see this kind of going into play from the devs. Healers in general have had their healing reduced. So you can see here by 16%. They can no longer blitz their wand, Fountain of Life. I don't know too much about healers, but I hear a lot of healers complaining about how this is like pretty big nerfs here. One of the biggest nerfs, I think, to wand or healing in general is going to be, if you look here for Spear, it says Predator added a function to Predator that removes the stacking recovery effects applied by player skills in the order they were most recently applied. 1 stack at a time, meaning whenever wands or bows would put, I forget what it's called, but it's basically a hot that they could stack up to 3 times, and they could, if they had like really low, cooldown reduction and everything, they could stack it on like their whole party. They could completely have their whole party hotted up. But basically, this ability on Spear is this Blood Leech aura. I don't know why they call it Predator, but basically normally it would do a big red AoE around you, and it's supposed to basically life leech, right, on the damage you deal from anybody inside that circle. However, now with this patch, that ability, when you use it, is going to basically rip recovery effects from players that are in it, 1 stack at a time, and it's going to tick. And I think it ticks like 5 times. I might be wrong on that, but so that basically means that people who have Spear and are running this ability are going to be able to run into the clumps, basically, where people are getting healed and tanks and whatnot, and they're going to essentially purge all of the hots off of everyone. So on top of the fact that people are going to be dying a lot more because no blood devo, like there's a cooldown, you're going to also be ripping off the hots, which is a big part of their heals. I think this also applies to like their flash wave heal and any kind of hot that a healer puts on. So healers are kind of dooming right now. I know it's a big nerf to healing, but I mean, I'll be honest, like I'd way much rather see like people just die more often, because right now no one's dying. It's just too boring. You know what I mean? Like, sure, they might have over nerfed some things or maybe buffed things too much. Like Spear obviously shouldn't have gotten. Spear is already like pretty popular, and adding this ability is going to make Spear super essential in every comp now. So there's going to be a lot more Spears. There's probably going to be a lot more SNS Spears, which is the Steelheart. Because, I mean, you're going to have Bulwark with an SNS, and then just Spear is going to have this ability where you're just purging all of the hots so people just can't get healed. So Steelheart, I think, is going to be kind of crazy. But like I said, there's probably some loopholes that people will figure out, but it'll be pretty interesting. Overall, in my opinion, I just think it's a really good step in the right direction because of the Blood Devotion change. This is the biggest thing in the game right now that's making the game extremely stale and boring. So hopefully, I think the next thing, if they're listening, that they should change, completely take out the game, is Bulwark. That is the most overpowered thing I've ever seen. You should not be able to pull somebody you should not be able to pull 3 other people from pulling 1 person. You know what I mean? Like that just encourages tanks to not really pay attention and just pull DPS and just know that you're going to pull 3 more people with them. It's kind of crazy. One last thing to touch base on is this Fortune's Calling event. Basically from May 29 to June 11, you're going to be able to complete various activities like your normal daily stuff for a chance to net extra rewards like the golden Arc Boss weapon selection chest. I don't know what's in this thing, but if it has Arc Boss in it, I can only imagine it's going to be Arc Boss stuff. So this could be very interesting because, I mean, they're basically just giving away Arc Boss weapons at this point. I don't know the drop chance. It could be like super low. It could be like, 0.0001%, but I think that's pretty much it. That kind of wraps up the rest of the patch notes. Like I said, this is overall, I think, a big W or a big step in the right direction for their patch. Just to change the meta, spice it up a little bit. And I'm actually kind of glad that they're doing it mid-tourney. I know it might piss off some people, but I don't know. I think that's just going to spice it up a bit. It's going to make it a little bit more interesting. Maybe we might see people ready for a meta, people start fumbling. I don't know. Like, who knows? So I'm kind of excited for it. Hopefully you guys are. Let me know if I missed anything down in the comments below. If you have any questions about anything. In a Shadow Dancer's point of view, I think we pretty much obviously got untouched. I think we're going to be in a really, really good spot because, like I said, without having Devo, everybody's going to be squishier. Don't get me wrong, we're going to be squishier as well, but at least people will be killable now. You know what I mean? So, like, sure, I'm going to die, but I'm going to take a lot of people down with me kind of thing. You know what I mean? So it's going to, I think Spear is in a really, really good spot. I'm sure the Reddit is crying about it like crazy right now. Spear is definitely going to be one of the top, if not the top weapon, now that Blood Devo got nerfed. So be prepared to see a lot of Spears. The meta could change. People could start stacking melee evasion. I don't know. Things could change. I will try to keep you guys updated with what I find out. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoy the video, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.